Hello, it's 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and this is The Ambassador. Now, South Sudan has imposed a 30-day social media restriction effective midnight Thursday, citing public safety concerns. On Thursday, panic spread through Goma as M23 rebels moved closer to the city in eastern Congo, fighting against the National Army. We will bring this and more of this. Good afternoon. To our first story, Italy is under fire after repatriating Libyan world Osama al-Masri, who has sought by the International Criminal Court for the war crimes, including torture and murder. The 47-year-old was arrested in Turin earlier this week but was flown back to Libya following a ruling by an Italian court, citing security concerns. Let's take a listen.
Spread through Goma as M23 rebels moved closer to the city in eastern Congo, fighting against the National Army. Explosions were heard from the outskirts and the main hospital became overwhelmed with hundreds of injured people from nearby towns and villages. Many residents of Mubambiro and Sake, which are about 25 kilometers from Goma, described their escape from the attacks. The situation in Sake is still unclear, but some reports say the rebels have taken control of the town. Over 178 people have fled their homes due to the recent fightings. The M23 rebels have been making steady progress, getting closer to Goma, a city of about 2 million people. Goma is an important city for security and aid operations in the region. M23 is one of over 100 armed groups fighting for control in eastern Congo, near the border with Rwanda. The region has been in conflict for years, and the violence has led to one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, with over 7 million people displaced. Earlier this month, M23 captured several towns in west of Goma, including Minova, Katale, and Masisi, while in 2012, M23 briefly took control of Goma for over a week. As the fighting intensified, schools in Goma sent students home for safety, as teachers expressed concerns about the dangers of keeping children at school. Congo, along the United States and the United Nations, has accused Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebels. The group is mostly made up of ethnic Tutsis who defected the Congolese army in more than 10 years ago. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
In a move aimed at curbing the spread of disturbing content linked to ongoing violence in Sudan, South Sudanese authorities have announced to temporarily ban on social media access. The decision comes at tensions rise following reports of violence targeting South Sudanese nationals in Sudan. Our reporter has more on this situation and the government's reports.
Sudan has imposed a 30-day social media restriction effective midnight Thursday, citing public safety concern. The National Communication Authority directed telecom providers to enforce the ban, which could be extended up to 90 days depending on the situation. This decision follows public outrage of a video allegedly showing militia group in Sudan convicting acts of violence against South Sudanese nationals. The situation escalated after violence broke out in South Sudan, prompting authorities to implement a dusk-to-dawn curfew on January 17. Moussa Faki Mahamat, chairperson of the African Union Commission, condemned the brutal killing of South Sudanese nationals and called for immediate restraint from all parties involved. The violence in Sudan, which erupted in April 2023, has plunged the nation into chaos, with horrific acts of targeted killings and sexual violence reported by the UN. The civil war has also led to widespread famine and world's largest displacement crisis. While the social media ban has sparked debate, authorities insist it is a necessary step to prevent further unrest and protect public safety. As the situation develops, South Sudan officials have promised to lift restriction once the stability returns. Joy Kuria, GBS News.
A massive wildfire sweeping through mountains north of Los Angeles has led to evacuation order for over 50,000 people, while California faces dangerous winds and persistent fires. Firefighters are working tirelessly to contain the flames, which have destroyed more than 15 acres, miles of land. Here is more on the same.
The Hughes fire, which began on Wednesday morning, quickly spread across the rugged terrain near Lake Castaic, triggering evacuation for over 50,000 people and leaving another 23,000 under warning. Strong winds gusting up to 42 miles per hour, with expected increases to 60 miles per hour, complicated efforts to contain the fire, which remains active with little control.
Fire is currently 24% contained. It is at 10,278 acres, so we've made some progress in the last 12 or 14 hours, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Fire crews are working both on the ground and in the air to keep the flames from spreading further. The Hughes fire comes amid a series of wildfires that have been burning for over 2 weeks, including the Palisade and the Eaton fires, which have taken at least 28 lives and destroyed over 14,000 buildings. Despite the massive damage, containment efforts with the Palisade fires at 68% contained and the Eaton fires at 91%. With the persistent threat of strong winds and dry conditions, authorities have extended red flag warning.
It's not a lack of water, and we have approximately 20 helicopters assigned to this fire, as well as numerous fixed-wing aircraft, so we're really hitting it hard.
As California continues to battle these dangerous wildfires, the ravaging combination of wind, dry conditions, and dense vegetation serves as a reminder of the devastating impact of climate change. With more than 50,000 people displaced and hundreds of firefighters risking their lives, the question lingers: what more can be done to prevent such tragedies from escalating in the future? This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
Now rescue operations continue in Central Java, Indonesia, after January 22nd. Landslide in Pekalongan Legacy killed at least 21 people and left 5 missing. Triggered by heavy rainfall, the disaster affected 9 villages, injuring 13 and displacing nearly 300 residents. Rescue teams face challenging conditions, including blocked roads, heavy rain, and fog, forcing them to trek 4 kilometers to the work-hit areas. Around 500 workers, including military personnel and volunteers, are searching for survivors, with heavy machinery clearing debris despite ongoing weather difficulties. Authorities have declared a 2-week emergency and warned of continued heavy rain, raising concern about further landslides and floods. Let's take a listen on the same.
Ya, kita harus segera mulai. Nanti tim 1, tim 2, tim 3, tim 4 kita bersama-sama kita lokasi. Kemudian untuk
ya longsor nggak kayak gini mas, ya longsornya biasa lah, kecil-kecil nggak sebesar kayak gini.
Kalau ini yang paling besar ya?
Tapi yang paling besar ini, paling biasanya gendalanya di longsor di tepi-tepi jalan. Kalau ini kan udah luar biasa.
Ini dalam mencari korban mas, dari kemarin mas. Kalau informasinya masih banyak yang kehilangan mas.
Kalau dari warga sendiri yang masih hilang atau jenengan kenal orangnya itu berapa?
Ada kerabat 1 mas. Sini itu ada penginapan, ada kafe, pemancingan, terus ada rumah warga.
The conflict between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has escalated, with intense clashes reported near the strategic Al Jili oil refinery north of Khartoum. The battlers mark a critical phase in the ongoing struggle for control in the war-torn region. Let's take a listen on the same.
Sudanese army announced on Wednesday that it has launched a multi-pronged offensive to reclaim key territory, including the vital Algeria oil refinery. The refinery, a crucial economic asset, has become a flashpoint in the ongoing conflict with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Eyewitnesses report heavy fighting, with intense clashes enveloping large part of Khartoum in thick smoke. Video circulating online shows army units taking control of strategic point near the refinery. In a parallel development, violence erupted in El Fasher after the RSF issued a 48 hours ultimatum demanding the army withdraw from its last stronghold. The deadline passed without resolution, prompting the Sudanese army to launch airstrike targeting RSF positions. The ongoing war has devastated Sudan, forcing millions to flee and plunging the nation into economic and humanitarian turmoil. Despite international calls for peace, the struggle for control over key regions like Algeria intensifies each other passing day. As battles rage on, the people of Sudan remain caught in the crossfire, yearning for stability and return to peace. Joy Kuria, GBS News.
The ambassador will take a short break. We will be right back with even more.
Are you all happy to see me? Yes, I'm also very happy to see you. We're going to make, ta-da, a banana milk package. Now we're done with the banana milk package.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome to the ambassador. Now, Prince Harry has reached a settlement with Rupert Murdoch News Group newspaper just days before a high-profile trial was set to begin. The agreement includes a substantial but undisclosed financial payout and an unequivocal apology for unlawful activities involving private investigators between 1996 and 2011. The tabloids admitted to serious intrusion into Harry's private life, expressing regret for the distress caused to him and his family, particularly regarding his late mother, Princess Diana. Harry's lawyer hailed the settlement as a monumental victory. This resolution marks a shift in Harry's approach, as he previously sought accountability through a public trial. Despite this legal success, analysts suggest it may not resolve ongoing tensions within the royal family, especially with his brother William and Father King Charles III. The case is part of over 1,300 crimes against News Group newspapers, which have already paid more than £1 billion in settlements and legal costs. Let's take a listen.
Account for its illegal actions and its blatant disregard for the law. The truth that has now been exposed is that Newsgroup newspapers unlawfully engaged more than 100 private investigators over at least 16 years on more than 35,000 occasions. This happened as much at The Sun as it did at the News of the World, with the knowledge of all the editors and executives going to the very top of the company. Today, the lies are laid bare. Today, the cover-ups are exposed, and today proves that no one stands above the law. The time for accountability has arrived.
And now, we have developing news from around the Middle East today, including a serious move by the International Criminal Court to issue arrest warrant against the two Taliban leaders in Afghanistan, the return of Lebanese refugees to their border villages after a long conflict, and a new religiously influenced police training initiative in Syria. Abdihamid Ali has more.
In a significant development in Afghanistan, the International Criminal Court has applied for arrest warrants for two Taliban leaders, including Supreme Leader Haibatullah Akhundzada. The court accused them of persecuting women and girls, a crime against humanity that dates back to the Taliban's takeover of Kabul in August of 2021. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan had this to say.
My office has concluded that these two Afghan nationals are criminally responsible for persecuting Afghan girls and women, as well as persons whom the Taliban perceived are not conforming with their ideological expectations of gender identity or expression, and persons whom the Taliban perceived as allies of girls and women.
Investigators found strong evidence that the leaders were responsible for a systematic campaign against Afghan women and girls, including restricting their education and freedom. This request by the ICC is the first of its kind, with the court demonstrating a commitment to holding the Taliban accountable for their gender-based crimes. In Lebanon, a sense of relief is growing among the displaced citizens who have now returned to their homes after fleeing the violence between Israel and Hezbollah that lasted over a year. Many had taken shelter elsewhere in Lebanon, and the recent ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah, mediated by the United States and France, allowed for the withdrawal of military forces on both sides.
Our home is a part of us. Thank God what happened to us happened to everyone, and thank God we do not regret what happened at all. Everything can be compensated for, and we are used to this. It is not the first time this has happened. In every war, this is what happens, and thank God, people will rebuild and stand strong, thanks to the determination of the youth.
Finally, in Syria, a controversial approach to law enforcement is emerging. The new authorities in Damascus are using Islamic teachings to shape the training of their police force, with focus on Sharia law. Officers are being selected based on their religious beliefs, a move that raises questions about the role of Islam in the country's political future, while the government seeks to gain the trust of Syria's population and stabilize the country after years of conflict.
Yes, there are Christian policemen who defected. This is the responsibility of everyone in the society. Everyone is responsible for building Syria. Nobody is looked at based on their religion.
This strategy could exacerbate existing divisions and spark concerns from the international community. The events unfolding in these three countries underline the complexities of international law, political stability, and human rights. While the ICC's action in Afghanistan provides a promise of accountability, Syria's move towards a religiously framed police force remains a point of controversy, and the return of refugees in Lebanon reminds us of the unpredictable nature of conflict and peace in the region. What is clear is that the struggles facing these countries are far from over, and the path towards long-lasting peace remains uncertain. This is Abdihamid Ali, JBS News.
A British teenager was sentenced at least 52 years in prison for killing 3 young girls and injuring 10 others at Taylor Swift-themed dance event last July in Southport. Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the attack one of the Britain's darkest moments. Axel, 18, admitted the stabbings, which prosecutors described as driven by obsession with violence and genocide. 2 of the victims suffered injuries so severe they were deemed sadistic. Judge Julian Goose noted that while a full life sentence couldn't be imposed due to Ruda Kuban being 17 at the time, he is unlikely to ever be released during the sentencing hearing. The Ruda Kuban disrupted proceeding, claiming he was unwell and refusing to return to the courtroom to hear his punishment. The court was shown distressing footage of the chaotic scene, with young girls screaming and filling the venue, of the girls severely injured and covered in blood, corrupted outside, drawing audible gasps and sobs from those in the courtroom public gallery.
Counts 1 to 3 murder, I sentence him to custody for life with a minimum term which he must serve in custody of 52 years, less the time he's served already. He's been in custody for 175 days on remand, which will be credited. Therefore, the minimum term is 51 years and 190 days. On counts 4 to 11, I sentence him concurrently to custody for life with a minimum term of 18 years, less 175 days served, on each count concurrently with each other. Allowing for his time served on remand, the minimum term on those counts is 17 years and 190 days. On counts 12 and 13, I sentence him concurrently to custody for life with a minimum term of 16 years, less his time served on remand, on each count concurrently with each other, leading to a minimum term on those counts of 15 years and 190 days. On counts 14 and 16, I sentence him to 18 months custody concurrently with each other and all other offences. He will pay the appropriate amount under he will pay the appropriate amount under 18 statutory charge, which will be entered on the court record. Accordingly, in total, I sentence Ruda Cabana to 13 sentences of custody for life and a minimum term to be served in custody of 51 days and 190 days. It is highly likely that he will never be released.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked former President Donald Trump's executive order that aimed to limit automatic birthright citizenship in the United States. The ruling came down on Thursday, with the judge calling the move blatantly unconstitutional.
A federal judge has halted the president's efforts to restrict birthright citizenship, a cornerstone of U.S. immigration law. The executive order, issued in 2019, sought to end the automatic citizenship granted to children born in the U.S. to non-citizen parents, a practice enriched in the 14th Amendment since 1868.
We came to the courthouse today to defend the United States Constitution, to defend democracy in America, to hear the judge from the bench say that in his 40 years as a judge, he has never seen something so blatantly unconstitutional, sets the tone for the seriousness of this effort.
Trump's administration argued that the practice encouraged illegal immigration, asserting that it was being exploited by undocumented immigrants and leading to a surge in people crossing the border to have children born on the United States soil.
People who are abusing this now, they're here temporarily, and they're here illegally. They should not be granted the special gift of citizenship in the United States of America when you've abused our laws.
The judge found that the executive order violated the Constitution and could not be implemented without congressional approval. The court emphasized that only Congress, not the president, has the power to change birthright citizenship laws. The ruling comes at a time when immigration remains a key issue in American politics, with debate over birthright citizenship intensifying in the face of ongoing border security challenges. While this ruling is temporary, it is a significant setback for Trump's broader immigration agenda. Legal experts say this case is likely to continue its way through the courts, but for now, birthright citizenship remains intact as guaranteed under the 14th Amendment. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
Now, Italy is under fire after repatriating Libya warlord Osama al-Masri, who was sought by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, murder, and the 47-year-old was arrested in Turin earlier this week but was flown back to Libya, following a ruling by an Italian court citing security concerns.
Recently repatriated Osama al-Masri, a Libyan warlord sought by International Criminal Court. The decision to expel him rather than extradite him to face charges was made due to security concerns, according to Italy's Interior Ministry. Matteo addressed the matter in the Senate, explaining that the repatriation was due to al-Masri's profile of social dangerousness and for reasons of state security. The move follows al-Masri's arrest in Turin after attending a soccer match just days before he was flown back to Libya on a government plane. However, the International Criminal Court has issued a warrant for his arrest on charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including murder, torture, and sexual violence. The ICC has transmitted the warrant to member states, including Italy, just before his arrest. Despite the ICC's request for Italy to cooperate, the Italian Court of Appeal ruled that al-Masri should be released due to a procedural error in his arrest. The court found that Italy's Justice Minister should have been informed before his arrest, as the ministry handles all interactions with the ICC. Critics, including human rights groups and senators, argue that Italy ignored its international obligations and compromised justice. Some have also pointed out that Italy's close ties with Libyan government may have played a role in the decision. These ties are crucial for Italy, which relies on Libya to prevent migrant departures. Human rights organizations have raised alarms about the conditions in Libyan detention facilities, accusing Italy of complicity due to its support of the Libyan Coast Guard. The situation has prompted calls for greater transparency and accountability regarding Italy's migration policies and international commitments. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Thailand has made history as the first country in Southeast Asia to legally recognize same-sex marriages. In a groundbreaking move, the country has officially opened its doors to LGBTQ couples, making a monumental shift in the region's approach to marriage equality. Today, over 1,000 couples are set to make their commitment official as Thailand paves the way for greater acceptance and equality for the LGBTQ community.
Thailand becomes the first country in Southeast Asia to legally recognize same-sex marriages. This significant milestone comes as over 1,000 couples across the nation are set to register their marriages, marking a pivotal moment in the country's history.
Very excited
and happy also. We got this one right. For the first start of
our family. It's very, meaningful for us to have the legalized marriage.
The legal recognition of the same-sex marriage in Thailand has generated significant attention both domestically and internationally. While it remains to be seen how this will affect other nations in the region, Thailand's move highlights the evolving conversation on LGBTQ+ rights. As the world watches Thailand's historic move, questions remain about the social and political implications of this law. Will other countries in Southeast Asia follow Thailand's lead? And what does this mean for the future of marriage equality in the region? Irene Juguna, GBS News.
White Rackers have partnered with Aviation Sans to deploy self-flying cargo drones in remote African region starting early 2025. These advanced ultra-cargo drones can carry over 100 kilograms of payload across 1,000 kilometers autonomously, meaning these drones can perform missions without the need for the remote pilot, making them ideal for navigating challenging environments, making them ideal for challenging environments. Effectiveness of humanitarian logistics.
We don't need a traditional airport infrastructure to operate this platform. We're very happy with one, but you can drive this into a flat field and you can get it out the back of a van and operate it successfully.
The daily job for ISAF is going where the others cannot go anymore for the normal airlines, and that's why we want to use the drone, because the access of the population and the risk of the head worker is increasing every day. And like you have some example in Mali, in Burkina Faso or in Niger, or 10 years ago we can access with the aircraft. Now at the moment we use a helicopter for that, not only ISAF but other NGO use helicopters, but they keep the engine open. They have a landing for 5 minutes on ground and they need to go back because the security is not controlled.
And that's all for today here at the Ambassador 1 p.m. I have been your Ambassador Paul Madenge. You can follow all of our stories at GBS TV Africa. It's updated through the day. Thank you for your time and company.